Hello my lovely bookish friends, and welcome back to another video. Today I thought I'd share with you a few of my favourite reads from 2023. I read over 90 books last year and a lot of them were 5-star or 4-star reads. I'm quite free with my 5 stars and I'm willing to give them to books that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I read so many wonderful books last year so that I have separated them into different sections in this video, a bit like I did in my mid-year freakout time. So let's begin. What were the best standalone books I read in 2023? I read a lot of standalone books last year and there were many good ones, including Legends of Lattes, Tress of the Emerald Sea and Babel of course, which I read right at the start of the year. But the ones I'll talk about are some of my absolute favourites. The first being Dracula by Bram Stoker. I read this classic vampire novel for the first time last year and absolutely loved it. It follows Jonathan Harker and his group of friends as they fight against the evil Count Dracula. The book is so well written, the story is so engaging, and it's just become one of my all-time favourite classics. Another favourite is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. This is a YA novel that follows 2 teenagers in war-torn Syria as they try to take care of their siblings and escape as refugees. This book is beautiful and tragic. I was crying by chapter 6 and just wow, it's so bittersweet, yet the characters are so lovely and I just adore the main couple. It's a must read, but prepare tissues. Next is a book that I read right at the start of last year, and it is The Night Circus. This follows 2 warlocks engaged in this magical competition set in a circus. This is another beautiful read. I thoroughly enjoyed it, more than I expected to. I loved how the different stories interweave together and the love story was truly heartfelt. Another heartfelt story was Little Women. This was my first time reading this classic and I adored it. This follows the lives of the 4 March sisters as they go from lively young girls to little women. I annotated this book and had such a lovely time reading it. It's so wholesome and I recommend everyone give it a read. This last book technically isn't a standalone, but it can be read as one, and it is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. This follows 4 evacuee siblings when they stumble into a wardrobe and into the magical realm of Narnia. This is just so magical and delightful. I just absolutely loved reading this. I listened to it as an audiobook and it was just such a whimsical, fun time. Moving on to what were the best manga or graphic novels I read in 2023. Again, I read many good manga and graphic novels. I continue reading one of my favourite series, Snow White with the Red Hair, also the manga edition of My Happy Marriage, which I adored, as well as the manga edition of Lonely Castle in the Mirror, which follows 7 teenagers whose mirrors glow and lead them into this castle, where a wolf girl offers them a wish if they can find a magical key. This is one of my favourite novels. It's wholesome and how the whole story comes together is just so clever, and so the manga edition is also lovely. Next is the graphic novel Hooky. This follows twins Dorian and Danny, who are witches who end up missing their bus for a magical school and end up mixed up with an ancient prophecy. This is a beautiful magical graphic novel. It's full of colour and the art style is so cute, yet the story is so engaging and fun. Finally, we have Heartstopper. This follows 2 boys, Nick and Charlie, as they become friends and eventually lovers. This is such a cute, wholesome story and it touches on some truly important topics. The art style is wonderful and I binged all 4 volumes that were out in a day. It was a delightful read. Next, I thought I'd introduce my favourite new series I read in 2023. I have started and read some great series in 2023, including the Nevermore series, which I listened to as an audiobook. Absolutely delightful, magical time, highly recommend. And also Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This series follows a cafe in Japan where you can travel back in time, but only until the coffee gets cold. I love this series and the first book made me sob. I loved it. Another favourite series was Lockwood and Co. This follows a group of teenagers that fight against an epidemic of ghosts. This is one of my favourite new series and a new comfort characters. I just loved this series so much and the characters, it was just so much fun and I truly cannot wait until I reread this series. My other favourite series is My Happy Marriage. Now I love this story as the light novel format, as the anime, as the movie, as the manga. It follows Mio, who is a mistreated daughter of a noble family, and she doesn't have any sort of magical ability, so she's married off to this commander with a bad reputation. However, this is just a wonderful story. I absolutely love it. It's got romance, it's got fantasy elements all mixed in well together, and for some reason I just absolutely adore this story. I can't even explain why I like it so much, but I'm honestly cannot wait for the next volumes to come out this year. What were the best sequels I read in 2023? I had this question in my mid-year free count and I thought I would include it again. The first is Mysteries of Thorn Manor. This is the novella sequel to Sorcery of Thorns, which is a YA fantasy book which I absolutely love. This is a cute quick read that offers a sweet look into the couple's life after the main story. Another sequel that offers a sweet insight into the couple's life after the main story, as well as the life of all the other characters in this series, is Orange to You, Dear Me. This follows up the manga series Orange, and this is a story of a group of high school friends who all receive letters from the future asking them to save a classmate. It touches on some dark topics, but overall it is a very wholesome story, and it's also a great start-off manga for those of you who want to begin trying out this genre. What was the biggest surprise read of 2023? This was another question on my mid-year freak out, so I thought I'd include it again. And I think the biggest surprise is still The Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'd heard good things about this book, but I didn't think I'd like it as I'm not into spice or romance. But this book was overall very wholesome, and it focused more on found family aspect of the book rather than romance, so it ended up being an absolute delight to read. And also another just sort of quick shout out to Work of Art by Mimi Matthews, which is a Kindle book that I got for free and ended up absolutely loving. It's a Regency romance with a mystery thrown in, and I read it in one sitting, then ordered the physical copy. It's a really sweet love story with a really cool mystery element, and I just really enjoyed it. A new favourite genre I found in 2023. Last year I really got into Japanese literature, so I wanted to have this little section for it, because I read a lot of novels in that genre and loved every one of them, including like all the Coffee Gets Cold series, She and Her Cat, Days at the Missouri Bookshop, and more, though all of them ended up being 4 or 5 stars, and they just became some of my favourite books, so I wanted to do this little section of appreciation for them. Most of these stories don't really have a lot of plot, so if that's what you like, these may not be for you, but they all have a lot of heart, and I just really enjoyed them. Finally, what were the best rereads of 2023? I love rereading books, and I reread some of my absolute favourites last year, including Sorcery of Thorns, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Half a Soul, Howl's Moving Castle. Some of these I annotated, and I just had so much fun rediscovering the stories and characters that I love and know so well. I've mentioned all these books in other videos, so I won't get into detail about them, as I probably talk about them a bit too much on this channel. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, my lovely bookish friends.